I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the Filthy Capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy merch.
The first song, this is actually for the big homie.
My Insanity.
Yeah, we had one of our friends, and My Insanity is one of our friends, and he was in the Amazon jungle. Doing his thing, so shout out to the big homie.
But he's home now, so.
But he's home now, gang.
So we're gonna bang out some of his requests, so he'll be able to watch it at his leisure.
Didn't he send us something from the Amazon way back, that wooden thing that I had?
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was him.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that was My Insanity. So shout out to him. Okay. My Insanity listens to a lot of those like techno rock mixes. So
well, we always get an interesting pick from him. So
yeah.
We'll see what's in the lineup. There's so few songs I recognize from this lineup.
Panzer AG. The first song is called "Sick Is the One Who Adores Me."
Yeah, that's an interesting title.
A lot of things I could say about that title. Holy smokes!
Wings of fire embrace me, trying to analyze the signs on the wall. Still they means nothing. On the floor with my head in my hands, trying to understand, but there's no answers. There's no answers.
I told you. I like this shit, My Insanity. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro.
there's no sense at all. Just an endless path of dreams, crushed down and destroyed by fate. I'm shouting out your name in my sleep, but you hear nothing.
Yep, there you go.
Beauty clean as water, poison my soul. Like a drug, tear apart my existence. I'll deny, I'll resist, I'll survive, exist. 7 days of rain, leaning on my shoulders. Should I accept that my throne lies in ruins? I'll deny, I'll resist, I'll survive, exist. Should I accept the punishment when I've done nothing? Should I accept the flattering words when I never deserved it? Should I accept the clouded sky when I know there's a sun behind it? Should I allow my blood to circulate when I wanted to stop?
Wow.
Beauty clean as water, poison my soul. Like a drug, tear apart my existence. I'll deny, I'll resist, I'll survive, exist. 7 days of rain, leaning on my shoulders. Should I accept that my throne lies in ruins? I'll deny, I'll resist, I'll survive, exist. I'll deny, I'll resist, I'll survive, exist.
Just because there are things I don't remember doesn't make my actions meaningless. The world doesn't just disappear when you close your eyes, does it?
Gang, gang, gang. The earth doesn't just disappear because you close your eyes, does it? That's such an interesting line. I don't know if that line is from a movie or something like that.
Yeah, I wonder.
Did he say the earth doesn't just disappear?
The world.
The world doesn't just disappear. Mm-hmm. Okay. I knew it was going to be some techno stuff. I just knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Well, from what we've seen, he picks a lot of those that kind of have that vibe to him. It's so funny. I always think of my friend Simon. I'm like, yo, I wonder if Simon would like this. Because it has the techno.
Was that the talented Mr. Ripley? Leonard Shelby. The world doesn't just close your eyes. The world doesn't just disappear when you close your eyes. That's a quote from Leonard Shelby. Who is Leonard Shelby? Anyway, go ahead. What was your thingy?
I like
that's
stuff
from the
that
movie Memento. That was from that freaky movie Memento. Remember when it kept reversing back in time?
Oh.
She kept forgetting, and then he was like, you know, like he would give her marks and stuff so he could remember what happened the previous day or whatever. That you fell asleep like.
I was going to say, I don't remember a whole lot of that one. I remember the other one where the guy kept tattooing his own body because he was going to forget.
Yeah, I think that was Memento, but that's such a really provocative line considering all the stuff I've been studying.
Oh.
I went to a couple of my friends. I said, "Hey, I need somebody to justify a positive case of materialism." Holy smokes, you would have thought a bomb went off. But anyway, my mic is on. Let me turn that baby off so that we don't get the echo effect or all the other nonsense that happens with that thing. Okay. Did you like that techno part?
Oh, I did.
When that beat dropped?
Oh, absolutely. And I wonder if his first of all, was the recording poor on purpose? Is that how it's supposed to be, or was it just not?
I didn't think it was
like
poor.
It was kind of like hard to.
It sounded pretty good to me.
The vocals, they didn't sound like kind of like they were coming over the radio or something.
Well, I thought that was on purpose.
That's what I was asking. If it was bad recording,
there's a telephone setting on iMovie where it makes it sound like you're talking through a telephone. Mm-hmm. But I love that part though. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, he said a lot of really, kind of crazy things like, which we both ended up reacting to, like if his blood should stop when he doesn't want, like, should I allow my blood to circulate when I want it to stop? So he says, wings of fire embrace me, trying to analyze the signs on the wall. Still, it means nothing. On the floor with my head in my hands, trying to understand, but there's no answers. There's no answers. Maybe I should have figured it out, but there's no sense in it all. Just an endless path of dreams, crushed down, destroyed by faith. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. How does a person get destroyed by faith? Usually it's like people are complaining about losing their faith or their lack of faith, which leads to some sort of destruction. But in this situation, his faith destroyed him. And obviously there's multiple scenarios in which your faith could destroy you.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, well, I mean, I could think of a few.
Like what?
Like if you expect for God to come through for you on something, like, so we used to have this belief that as long as you were doing the right thing, then God was going to bless you. So if you believe that and you have faith that God is going to do that, and then something bad happens and you're like, well, wait a minute, I didn't do anything to bring this on. Certainly not this degree of pain.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, lots of people would say that they're not perfect. They don't deserve complete perfection in their life. But I mean, when tragedy strikes to a really horrible degree, then it's like, okay. So I'm saying in a situation like that, your faith could make it more difficult for you because you believed that you were going to be saved from that, and you're not.
Mm-hmm. He's got his head in his hands. There's no answers. He's trying to understand, but there's no answers. Mm-hmm. Like,
who's the she that he's calling out her name?
Well, her beauty clean as water, poisons my soul like a drug, tear apart my existence. I'll deny, I'll resist, I'll survive, I'll exist. So it looks to me like this is a relationship song. The breakup didn't go very well, and so he's trying to figure out how he's gonna pick up the pieces and keep going.
Yeah.
So I think destroyed by faith here could be the faithfulness you have to your significant other. Oh, see what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
I'm gonna remain loyal to you. I'm gonna stick with you. But if it turns out that she wasn't that loyal, then it's like, what was the point of me being a faithful person to this person? Yeah. Which, of course, the answer to that is obvious. Is that, they're unfaithful, but at least you are faithful to yourself, to your principles, to who you were as a man or who you were as a woman. You maintain your... I think that's a lesson people got to understand. Like, just because you do the right thing, and it doesn't matter what rubric you're trying to interpret the right thing from. But a lot of times when you do the right thing, or you hold on to your faith or your integrity or your faith in itself, whatever, it doesn't always go the way it should go. Mm-hmm. So, like, you could be in a situation where you're in a relationship and you remain faithful and the other person isn't. It doesn't mean that you were faithful for nothing, because it means that you can stand as a man and a woman and look at yourself in the mirror and know that, hey, that person did that and they have to live with that, whereas I maintained my own character and faithfulness to myself and to my principles, which, seems pretty hollow. But I think as time goes on and you experience more people and you see how people react to similar situations, at least for me anyway, there's a situation here locally where people had a lot of opinions. And then they were put in a situation that was like 2%.
Percentage,
2% of what certain people were dealing with.
Yeah.
And they couldn't hang.
Yep.
They couldn't hang for a second, you know? And so, like, being able to look back at yourself and say, hey, I maintained my integrity. I maintained who I was as a man. And, you know, all these people can have their opinions. But now when I look at you and you're in the same situation and you tap out immediately, I'm like,
yeah.
You know, so as time goes on, your faithfulness to God, yourself, whatever, does get validated. Even though in the beginning, it's kind of like, I did this for nothing. If you give it enough time, you'll be able to see the real benefit of maintaining your integrity and sticking to it and doing the right thing. And you also begin to realize that there isn't much worth compromising that for either.
Yeah.
So it just, a lot of times when we define what was successful, what was a failure, what was worth it, what was worthless, a lot of times we make the mistake of looking at the direct outcome and deciding whether we were right or wrong based on what the other person does, and that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. I guess you're probably right on that. I think that I think there's something about as time progresses that, like, when you're first done in a relationship, a lot of times people want to demonize the other person and they want to just see like all the bad stuff that the person did. Simultaneously, if they want to get back in a relationship with someone, they'll erase all of the horrible things that took place and they'll only focus on the good.
Right.
So obviously the best and healthiest thing is that we can look at a person for who they are in the fullest sense. But I think that sometimes doesn't happen just naturally. So you gotta sometimes put in the work for that. But also, as time progresses, and I think that, you know, people mature and stuff, you look back and you're like, you know, it wasn't until like a couple months ago that I looked back on my previous relationship and I was like, well, I was a really controlling person there. And I didn't recognize that before and I didn't see that in myself. And so I think that, shoot, I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, seeing yourself in the relationship, not demonizing the person or canonizing yourself.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, because you have so many things already when you're actually honest with yourself. There's so many things because we're all flawed. We all have issues. So there's so many things if you're honest with yourself that you were a problem in a relationship. It doesn't mean, you know, if somebody was abusive, obviously, like, that is on another level. Like, that's happening regardless of what you're doing. But if you're in a relationship and you cross those lines and you become unfaithful or whatever, then, you know, as time progresses and you look back on the situation, there's a lot more stuff that your soul has to bear that you have to work through, because at the end of the day, you were that person. You did choose to do that. Where if you say, I'm going to maintain my faithfulness, and the other person doesn't, like you said, they have to contend with that one way or the other, you know, where you don't have to. So why put that burden on yourself, and cross over your, you know, what you know to be right. I think that there probably is like a small group of people that's like, no, it's completely fine to cheat on other people or to hurt other people in that way. You know what I mean? Like, there's always like those type of people. Yeah. But for the majority of us, I think that even if they cross that line, they could say it was wrong for me to do so.
That is true. Like, no matter how morally relativistic people are, people generally look at, you know, cheating on your significant other and then lying about it. People generally, almost universally, look at that as wrong.
Yeah.
Which I think is a very fascinating thing. But, you know, to XBM's point, what you were just saying is one of the many millions of benefits from the doctrine of original sin. Because what the doctrine of original sin does in this context is it forces you to say, what are the odds, if original sin is true, what are the odds that this breakup was 100% the other person's fault? And what it does is it puts you in a situation where you have to look at yourself, and you're always biased towards yourself, and the doctrine of original sin kind of gets you to the middle to even consider maybe something was wrong with the way that I was prosecuting the relationship. And
Yeah.
the reason that's important, people say, why is that important? The relationship's over. Because most of us are going to be in other relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's important to understand what happened, why, all the rest of it. That line there is really interesting. Should I accept the punishment when I've done nothing? Should I accept the flattering words when I never deserved it? Should I accept the clouded sky when I know there's a sun behind it? Should I allow my blood to circulate when I want it to stop? And that's sort of the paradoxes of life, because on the one extreme, you do get punished for shit you didn't do, and then on the other extreme, you get credit for things that you don't really deserve.
Yeah.
And it's I had this friend one time, and he was jealous of me. I should have said friend. I had this friend. He was jealous of me because he truly believed that I was living some charmed life because people were whatever you're locally whatever weird thing people do with people that they whatever. And it was fascinating watching him and his jealousy, and it really began to destroy him.
Yeah.
But what he didn't realize was that, you get credit for a lot of things that you don't deserve when you're like the top guy or whatever. And even if you try to deflect it back to your teammates, it doesn't matter. People look at you, you're the guy, okay. But if something screws up, or if the cops come, they weren't coming to him. When the cops showed up and the AG was going after everybody or whatever, you were fine.
Right.
They were going after me and the other guy. So like that's the back and forth that happens when you're like a prominent person. You get all of this flattery, and you don't deserve 98% of it. And on the other hand, you get held to ridiculous standards. People assume that if they were you, they do X, Y, and Z thing differently. But that's the paradox and the dichotomy of life. So I really like that part. Should I accept the clouded sky when there's a sun behind it? Correct. Like, you're in a bad state right now. Your girl left you, whatever. It's a gut punch. But it's like the Quran. It's one of the most simplistic phrases in Islam. But after difficulty comes ease. And so it's like, there is the assumption that there's a sun back there somewhere. John Piper has this book called The Hidden Smile of God, and it's talking about how when you're going through all types of crazy shit and your world is falling apart, that behind the scenes God is smiling. And it's because he knows that there's going to be good that comes out of it. So on the one hand, it's like, if you look at it immediately, like, holy smokes, God is really crazy. How could you be smiling when I'm in this horrible situation? And it's because he knows what's going to happen afterwards. So that's the thing, man. When people get in these situations and they start making ultimate decisions, like irreversible decisions, like, you have to understand that, it's bad now, but if you give yourself some time, if you give yourself an opportunity, you will be able to bounce back. And you might have completely permanently lost that person. And I'm not going to say there's 8 billion people in the world, because the fact of the matter is sometimes that makes it worse, because it's like, I found the needle in the haystack and now it's gone. So like, I'm not going to say, there's 8 billion people in the world, you can find somebody else. But what I will say is, you'd find somebody different. And then your experience set with that person's going to be different. And so from that angle, if you give yourself an opportunity to keep going, whether it's life or even relationships itself, it's important to do that.
Just to go back to the whole, the understanding that everybody has problems. There's a sin nature in everybody. I think that one thing that can happen if you're in a relationship and the relationship ends because of the other person, really, and maybe the abuse that they were doing toward you, or the things that they really cross some massive lines. It's very easy, because we can say, okay, if somebody abuses you, they're completely in the wrong 100% for that. But that doesn't mean that you were flawless in the relationship.
Right.
Nobody deserves abuse, and nobody does anything that should warrant abuse. So put that aside, but you have to understand that you were not a perfect person. And it's easy to overlook the fact that you weren't perfect when you're standing in the light of their imperfection, because it's so big. And I think that that part of maturing and part of growing past that and coming to a new place is really taking a look at yourself to be able to say, okay, where are my issues? Aside from them, where are my issues? So, yeah.
Yeah. It's a good song. It's a relationship song, but there's a lot of things about it that really make you think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, because he went a lot of different places here with this song lyrically that you wouldn't necessarily expect right out of the gate, you know, because he's extrapolating the main issue, and then it's expanding to, should I even continue life, you know what I'm saying? So it's a good song. It's a good song to start out the day. It's a solid 9 for me. What do you give it?
9.2.
All right, there you are.
I'm kind of a techno fan.
It's the name of the song is "Sick Is the One Who Adores Me" from the band Panzer AG.
All right, you guys.
Panzer AG.
We got more coming up. This is not the end. Sold Soul is up next.
The Son of Perdition. That should be interesting. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.